welcome to this channel. In today's video, we're going to cover practice questions. So I'm going to walk you through a couple of questions and show you how I tackle them when I'm answering these questions. There will be some where you're not really sure of the right answer, but how do you eliminate the wrong ones and pick the right one? We're also going to cover some math problems too. So for the math problems, you may want to pause the video and then see if you can solve it, restart the video and see how you did. All right. Use this as a study tool. And this is also an example for you when you're doing practice questions in your book or whatever platform you're using to study. Go through this process as well. And after you answer the question, why is the right answer the right answer? And why is the wrong answer the wrong answer? Right? Going through that process is a different way to study, and it's also going to help you as you prepare because sometimes you don't just want to sit there and read the chapters over and over and over again. One of the reasons why I also am an advocate for practice questions is you begin to develop patterns of how you answer questions. Perhaps you don't read the entire question, that's why you get it wrong. Or sometimes you miss a word and that's why you get it wrong. So as you do practice questions, it's going to show you those things and you just learn from them so that you're better and you just keep improving till you go take the actual state examination. So grab a notebook, grab something to write with, and let's jump in and begin. And of course, before we do, my name is Nonya Ononobu and I am a real estate tutoress. On this channel, I bring you the best tips and tools to getting your real estate license. I also answer any questions you may have about the process. If you're new, welcome and do consider subscribing. And share this with a friend or someone you met at your real estate school who is going through the process as well. All right, let's jump right in.
Question number one. The effective gross annual income for a property is $69,200. If the total expenses for this year are $44,985, what capitalization rate was used to obtain a valuation of $300,000? So this is a capitalization question. And so if you remember the formula, and I'm going to use a T diagram to explain this. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this T diagram, but the part goes on the top, the rate goes on the right, so this is a percentage, and then the whole goes on the bottom. And so what happens is if we're trying to find the part, it would be whole times the rate. If we're trying to find the rate, it will be part divided by the whole. And if we're trying to find the whole, it will be the part divided by the percentage or the rate. So in this question, let's plot this together. So our rate is the capitalization rate. That's the one we're looking for. Our part would be the net operating income, and the whole here would be the value of the property. And so in order to find the rate, that would be the NOI divided by the value. Okay? So from the question, do we have the NOI? NOI is the net operating income. The question gives us the annual income as well as the expenses. So if you think about those two numbers, when you subtract them, you get the NOI. Same thing with your paycheck, for example. You have your gross income and then you subtract your taxes or whatever from your check, and that gives you your net income. So to find our NOI, that would be 69,200 minus 44,985. When you divide this, grab your calculator or you could do the math. Okay, so 5, 1, 2, and this is 24. So that is our NOI. So then we're going to use this formula to get the capitalization rate. So 24,215 divided by our value of 300,000. So grab your calculator and do this math. So when you, in your calculator, 24,215 divided by 3,000 and then hit the percentage key, and that should give you 8%. And so B would be our answer. Okay, so hopefully you were able to figure this out. And if you didn't, and you've seen how I've done it, and look in your textbook and find a question for yourself too and see if you can figure it out. But this is one of the calculations that you need to know as you prepare for the exam. Let's go on to the next question. In the cost approach to value, the appraiser uses which of the following? A, the owner's original cost of construction. B, an estimate of the building's replacement cost. C, the sales price of similar properties. And D, the assessed value of the property. In the section in your book on cost approach, one of the things that we talked about, or rather you talked about in your course, is that, again, cost. So the ones that have costs are most likely the right answer. So that's going to help us eliminate the sales price of similar properties and then the assessed value. If you remember, the assessed value is from the taxation, so property taxes, right? So that has nothing to do with the value of the property in an appraisal. And then sales price of similar properties. This is where you are comparing similar properties. So that is not the cost approach. So these two are out. All right. So we've eliminated we've eliminated D. We've eliminated C. So now we're either the original cost or the estimated building's replacement cost. And so if you think about it, we're trying to find the value of the property today. Okay? So we're going to need to not worry about the original cost because that's not the same price today. We would want to know how much it is for a replacement of that building. And so our answer would be B, an estimate of the building's replacement cost. Next question. Two adjacent vacant lots are each worth $60,000. However, if they are sold as a single lot, the combined parcel is worth $150,000. What principle does this illustrate? A, regression. B, progression. C, plottage. D, anticipation. So here, let's just look at the question again. We have two vacant lots. They're next to each other. So let's just say this. Oh, my drawing is bad, but bear with me. So let's say they're next to each other. This is A and this is B. Separately, they're worth $60,000. But when we combine them and sell them as one, it's worth more. All right. If you go back and remember the meaning of regression and progression, you remember that they're opposite of each other and they had nothing to do with vacant lots. Regression, a property's value is decreased because of the other properties around it. With progression, the property's value is increased because of the properties around them. So I guess we can scratch these two out. So we now have plottage and anticipation. If you think about those two words, let's even say you don't know the meaning of this one, but think of the word anticipate. You're looking forward to something, right? And then go back to the question. Does it talk about looking forward to anything there? The answer is no. So with anticipation, this is where the appraiser is looking to see what is anticipated in that neighborhood, in that market, and how does it or how will that thing affect property values? For example, if it's anticipated that a huge company is moving into a community and that's going to be their headquarters, that means they're going to bring a lot of people in for jobs. What's that going to do to value of homes in that area? And then think about the opposite. If people are leaving, what would that do to value? So that's anticipation. And so that's not our answer. So even if you didn't know the meaning of plottage, that's the answer you would pick and you will be correct. Now, with plottage, think about the word a plot, like a plot of land, right? So here we're talking about vacant lots, vacant plots of land. With plottage, it is it is what's the word I'm looking for? It is estimated, maybe that's the word I could use, that combining two single lots and selling them for more is better than separating them and selling them for less. or essentially the principle that when you combine land, it's worth more than when you separate them and sell them individually. So that is plottage, and that is the right answer here. Which factor is important in comparing properties under the sales comparison approach to value? A. Depreciation. B. Rent rolls. C. Date of sale. D. Active listings. So if you think about all of these, let's say you weren't quite sure, depreciation, or do we use depreciation when we're talking about sales comparison approach? The answer is no. We use this with cost approach. Because if you remember the last question we had, you use the estimated value, sorry, the estimated cost of replacement, and then you subtract depreciation. So this is in the cost approach, so we can eliminate this one. For rent rolls, this is the sales approach. Rent rolls will come in for income approach. The date of the sale, we're comparing, right? So that's a possibility. And then finally, active listings, we may use them as our comparison, but it's not essentially a factor. So in this case, the date of sale would be the right answer because we look at when the property sold to help us determine if we're in the same type of market. How has the market changed since the date of the sale? Is it still the same, or is it better? Is it worse for a buyer? What's happening to the real estate market based on the date of sale of the comparable properties? Okay, so our answer here is C as in Charlie. Next question. A seller received an opinion of value from her listing agent of $350,000 for her property. The home eventually sold for $339,000. Which of the following is true? A. $350,000 is the market price. B. $339,000 is the market price. C. $339,000 is the market value. And then D. The market value cannot be determined. All right, so on the exam, usually on the exam, but of course, check when you're solving or when you're answering questions on the exam. Usually, when there are two questions that are pretty much opposite of each other, one of them is the right answer. Usually. But please, disclaimer, right? Make sure you read all the answers because it may be wrong sometimes. But usually, if they're two opposite, one of them is the answer. All right, so what is market price and what is market value? Market price is what the property actually sold for. Okay? So this is what we actually sold for. Market value is what we think it will sell for. All right? So knowing that, let's go back to the question. The opinion of value is 350, but then it's sold for 339. So because of that, our answer is B as in boy. It's sold for 339, our market price. So please remember these two terms, market value and market price. Sometimes they're the same, but not all the time. Next question. An appraiser is given a job to estimate the value of a large apartment complex. Which approach to value would be the best method for this property? A, the cost approach, B, the sales approach, C, the income approach, and D, the analysis approach. All right, so we're talking about approach to value. So the three methods that appraisers use. And if you remember correctly, it's cost, sales, and income. So we can eliminate this one. So we're left with these three, cost, sales, and income approach. So let's go back to the question. This is for a large apartment complex. So let's look to see the three methods. Cost approach, what's that best for? And then sales approach, what's that best for? Income approach, what's that best for? Cost approach is for properties where we don't have a lot of comps or comparables. Special use buildings, museums, places of worship, schools, theaters, arenas, those types of places, we would use a cost approach. So this is out. Sales approach best for residential, condos, 2 units, those type of things. So this again would be out, and that leaves us with income. So back to the question: a large apartment complex. So if you own a large apartment complex, what do you own that for? You own that for the income it's going to produce for you. And that should help you remember that for apartment complexes, strip malls, retail places, office buildings, places that you rent out to other people, the income approach is the method that will be used. On to the next question. Which of the following is not one of the characteristics of value? Which of the following is not one of the characteristics of value? So, if you remember the characteristics of value, this is where you begin to go through what they are and then figure out the one that's not there, not one of them. So, our options here are scarcity, utility, obsolescence, and transferability. So, factors that affect value, if you remember, there is an acronym, and I just did a video about this. DUST was the acronym for it. D is demand, U is utility. This is an I. S is scarcity, and T is transferability. So based on that, so this is an E. Based on that, what's the answer? Obsolescence. So if you don't remember this, please go back and review what all of these are. Right? Demand, of course, think demand and supply. So of course, if demand is high, value is going to go up. Utility or usefulness. Is the property being used for what it was required to be used for? Scarcity, the fact that real estate is scarce, right? At some point, we're going to run out. So, in a subdivision, for example, we have 50 homes. When we sell all 50 homes, we have no other home in that subdivision. All right, so that affects value. And then, of course, transferability, the ability, again, ability to transfer the property from one person to another. How easy is it for us to sell this property, or do we have liens on the property that's going to affect our ability to transfer ownership? So these are the four characteristics of value. And then obsolescence, this is in the cost approach where we talk about depreciation. So obsolescence essentially is the process of becoming obsolete. Okay, so functional obsolescence and economic obsolescence are two that we talk about in cost approach. So answer is C. Next question. There are two similar condos in a neighborhood, one that sold and one that is the subject of an appraisal. The comp sold for $275,000, all right, and has a garage that's worth $9,000. The subject property has no garage, but it has a fireplace valued at $5,000. What is the indicated value of the subject property? First thing is, this is a sales approach, right? I already knew that in my mind, but if you didn't know that, this is a sales approach. And that's kind of what's going to guide you as you answer the question. So, first, this is a sales approach. With the sales approach, when we are calculating value based off of the comp, there is this acronym that I like to use, which is if the comp is better, we subtract. If the comp is poorer, we add. So the comp has a garage. The comp is better. So we subtract $9,000. Think about it. The comp has a garage. We don't have a garage. The garage is worth $9,000. So our price is going to be $9,000 less than their price. Okay? Now we have a fireplace. They don't. So we need to add 5,000 because we have a fireplace. And that's the comp is poorer. So we add. So you're going to do the math for this. subtract 9,000, add 5,000. You should get A as an apple. And of course, guys, if you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comments below for me. Next question. For appraisal purposes, depreciation is not caused by A. Functional obsolescence, B. Physical deterioration, C. Accelerated capitalization, and D. Economic obsolescence. So, whenever you see the word depreciation, this is the cost approach. All right, this is our cost approach. And so, with depreciation, if you remember from your study, from your coursework, there were three kinds. There was functional deterioration, functional obsolescence, physical deterioration, and economic or external obsolescence. Those were the three kinds. With physical deterioration, we're talking about normal wear and tear. With functional obsolescence, we're talking about things in the property that other people find undesirable. For example, you have a 4-bed, 1-bath home or a house that doesn't have plumbing, right? So there's no plumbing in the house. Or um, a house maybe with a 1-car garage or no garage at all. There's nothing wrong with the property per se. For example, 4-bed, 1-bath. People just don't find that functional today. Or a home with no garage, right? No parking. So because of that, the value is affected. And then finally, external or economic obsolescence. This is something outside of the home that is causing its value to drop. For example, being located in a terrible neighborhood is external or economic obsolescence. And since those are the three, that leaves us with this one, accelerated capitalization. And honestly, I don't know what that means, but I just know it is not a factor that causes depreciation. So that's all we need for the exam, and then we move on to the next question. Next question. If the annual net operating income for 123 Banana Street is $67,000 and the property is valued at $495,000, what is the capitalization rate? So, going back to our T diagram, the part goes on the top, the whole goes here, and the rate goes there. So, from our question, we have the net operating income, NOI, is our part. So that goes on the top, 67,000. We have our whole, so we're missing this. Okay, and based on how we know how we work with this formula, we divide 67,000 by 495,000. So pull out your calculator, divided by 495,000, and then hit the percentage key. And that should give you C as in Charlie. Now, if you see a property like this, buy it because this is a great rate of return. Not very common in today's market.
So those were all of the questions. How was it? How did you do? Did you pause and solve the math and then continue? Do you have any questions? Let me know in the comments, and I'll be glad to clarify anything that you have questions with from the practice questions, of course. And then be sure to jump on to this next video where I continue teaching more on the material that will help you as you prepare for the state examination. So thank you so much for watching, and jump right in. I'll see you in the next video.